So does this make sense as a concept, the ABS formula? Did you all get a chance to experience it, even if it's in a mild form, either as the subject and the hypnotist, and seeing different things? And you'll already notice that when this starts breaking down, that's where the problems start come in. So if you, for example, have someone who's a little distrusting, a little skeptical, a little bit too critical about what's going on, if you don't get to bypass the critical factor properly, you can see, you can sense it, well then, you know, your hypnotic session is going to be unsatisfactory, and if you spot it up ahead of time, you'll know what to fix. If you didn't, then you'll go, what did I do wrong? Does that kind of make sense? And the reason I think this is important is because, well, two reasons. One, a lot of hypnotists out there, they miss these obvious signals, or at least they'll see them, but they ignore them because they're too busy thinking that the induction is magical and will do it all for them, or they miss it because they're so wrapped up in doing the induction that they delete the clarity of what's going on, right? The other thing that can happen is people will see it, but they won't really trigger it. In other words, they won't know what it means, so they'll ignore it. But it's actually very straightforward to find out, right? Because you have now a contrast to fit it against. Make sense? Good. There's a couple of other things that we're doing, in fact, that you have been doing, that are just as important as this. These are some of the fundamental key principles in conversation hypnosis, and everything you've been doing physically will translate to a conversation in some way or another, and we just have to find the right mechanisms for doing that, right? The first principle we've just been covering is the agreement principle. Agreement, basically, think of the mind as having two basic functions, two formats, right, which are mutually contradictory. So when one is on, the other one's off, and vice versa. One is the mind that says no, that rejects information. One is the mind that says yes, that accepts information or looks for reasons to accept it, right? Someone can present you with, I don't know, a car or a new dress or a shirt and say, do you like it? If you're picking out the things that you like, well, the buttons are good, right? You may not like the shirt, but the buttons are good. You're looking for things to accept. You have the yes part of the mind switched on. Does that make sense? If you're saying, oh, you know, the shirt's got a little smudge in the corner, the shirt might be perfect, except for that smudge. You're looking for rejection things, so the mechanisms are fundamentally different, right? We want them to be in an agreement mode, because when they're in a yes mindset, the critical factor is pretty much being bypassed. It's looking for reasons to accept rather than reject or deny ideas. Does that make sense? So in terms of how we've been doing it physically, this is called compliance testing, right? We're looking for physical compliance, and the quality, the nature of that compliance will give us a clue as to their mindset, right? You saw quite clearly when Rohit was kind of like a little hesitant. You saw the hesitation, right? You saw the slight stiffness in the way he was walking towards it compared to how he got up onto the stage. Why? Well, we were missing the agreement, or we had partial agreement, and we had too much of the negative mindset, and he just told me basically, well, the critical factor is still active. It's not a bad thing, right? It can be overcome. We can do things to soften the situation and make it easier, more acceptable, and so on. But we have to do them, or else we're taking our chances. In other words, we're stacking the deck against us rather than for us. Does that make sense to you guys? And this is going to happen in every conversation that you have. There are many different ways of building agreement, whether it's yes sets, whether it's physical motions, whether it's agreement, whether it's universal experiences. Lots of little tactics and techniques. We'll cover many of them here. Some of them are in the home study, the audio program as well. The point is, this is a fundamental principle without which it starts going pear-shaped, right? It becomes very difficult to predict whether or not something will work. And this is especially true of a conversation. It's more true of a conversation than with more overt hypnosis, because the physical stuff in the overt hypnosis can sometimes override some of these mechanisms, right? In a conversation, you do not have that luxury. So you want to be sensitized to what kind of compliance am I getting? Are they following along smoothly, or am I getting some kind of resistance? Make sense? Any questions or comments on that so far?
Yes, deck.
Well, yes, the yes deck. The next thing is authority. This is another important principle. This is a strange one because we both need it and don't want it. Authority comes in many packages. The problem is that some of the packages that authority comes in have a strong polar reaction by people, right? So the classic authority thing might be the uniform, the police officer, the person in charge, the principal, right? The father figure, if you want to use more Jungian archetypes. So the advantage of that type is if someone responds very strongly in a positive way to an authority figure, well, that's great. You're straight into the mind, they're responding to you. It carries with it a lot of this opening up of things. The problem is if you have these classic mannerisms of authority, and the person has a polar response, they don't like authority, they feel oppressed by it. Their personal, shall we say, perceptions of life is that authority is out to harm them, over-control them, and so on. Then the very thing that could open the doors for you might well shut in your face. Does that make sense? Now, the interesting thing about authority, though, is authority does not have to be the classical type. It can be, right? I don't know if you know this. They had, there's a nice little study where they had a person wearing like a security uniform, like from a shopping mall, would walk around up and down the streets and tell people to pick up random bits of litter, right? And they found that when a security guard was doing it, I can't remember what the percentage was, but a relatively high percentage of people, like 60 or 70% of people, would pick up the litter and put it in the bin. Even though he's outside of his jurisdiction and has nothing to do with anything, they're responding to uniform. Does that make sense? As compared to, say, a guy in jeans and T-shirt. Now, the interesting thing is, if a person in a suit says the same thing, he has exactly the same reaction. The percentages don't vary very much at all, right? So people say, that your dress doesn't matter and so on, where you shouldn't judge a book by its cover and so on. Well, it turns out that's not the case. People will judge you by how you're dressed and how you present yourself in that sense. Now, the authority, of course, will switch according to context too. If you're with a bunch of skateboarders dressed like this, you may well trigger an opposite reaction, like we just talked about, right? So you need to be viewed as an authority of some sorts with that other person. You're a source of information, of facts, of experiences that are valid, but you want to be careful as to understanding what context you're in again, what the person that you're facing, what are their associations, what's the culture that they're in, and so on, because you may end up adopting something that looks like a stereotype of authority, but doesn't actually work for that particular individual. Does that kind of make sense to you guys? Right? So the reason I'm spending so much time talking about authority is because, let's face it, when I was up here asking people to stand over here and move on and so on, it's very clear who the authority in the interaction is, right? Does it mean I'm lording it over someone, that I am imposing my will? Oh, you slave will do what I say. No. And it's important that you understand the distinction so that you don't start coming across that. You can still have the respect that comes with authority. People will still follow, even though you don't have any of the overt trappings. Because a lot of people will hide behind the overt trappings rather than actually stepping into the genuine thing. So what is genuine authority then? If it's not the suit that you're wearing, although that is something that people will instinctively respond to in our culture, what is it that is authority? Any ideas? So we have personal values between other people. Okay, that's an interesting, I think that's part of it. Confidence, that's going to be a very important thing. But what do we mean by confidence? Right? Two people are standing there, lying there sleeping. Which one's confident? So you're saying the way they're standing, right? Am I confident right now? Right? I'm kind of faking it a little bit. So there's clues in terms of how people move and stand that will tell you as to what their confidence is. Is that fair? So you want to add something?
Authority is really what you know about yourself.
So authority is what you know about yourself.
It's like, in certain situations, I know I'm the authority.
So in certain situations he knows he's the authority. In other situations, who knows? So what's going on here is we'll take one more and then we'll...
I was just going to say whoever has the strongest frame.
Whoever has the strongest frame. So, and these are all true, by the way. You've all identified an aspect of it. I'd like to offer you a very simple way of looking at it that will hopefully make it very clear, and you'll be able to tell across the board whether or not someone is formally the leader of a group or something like that. You'll still be able to spot the authority, and you'll be able to switch it on and off whenever you need it. Would that be something worth exploring? The very simple, and this is just how I look at it, the very simple way of looking at it is recognize that at some level, as sophisticated as we've become, we are still mammals. And we share the same traits as mammals. And mammals have a hierarchy. You've heard about the alpha dog in the pack, or the alpha wolf, or the alpha male, I think is the classic version of this, right? There are signs of basically, in terms of pretty much every mammalian group, there will be a hierarchy that emerges. One will be at the top, someone will be at the bottom, and everyone else will shuffle somewhere in between, and there'll be very clear levels in terms of, for example, wolves or dog packs. There'll be a pecking order, who gets to eat first, and who has to wait till last to eat, and so on. Now, without going into this in too much detail, this is a useful thing, because first of all, it will always happen. Every group that you're in, no matter how let's hug the world they are, how open and flat the structure is, a natural leader will always emerge. Someone that people will look towards for leadership, for direction, for approval, even if it's not acknowledged consciously. Does that make sense? It will always happen, and you will always see the same kind of signals occurring. The second thing to realize is that it's not always important to be at the top of the pack. There are advantages of being at the bottom or somewhere in the middle too. So it's a question of understanding where do you need to be given the interaction that you're in. Does that kind of make sense to you guys? So what are some of the advantages, let's say? I mean, we can clearly see the advantage of being at the top, right? People do what you say, great, you're the alpha male, and so on, or female in this sense. The disadvantage of being at the top, what might that be?
There's a lot of expectation.
A lot of attention, a lot of expectation, pressure, responsibility. So that kind of goes with authority as well. So the flip side, when you're at the bottom of the pack, part of the reason people choose that position is there's less pressure, there's less challenge, right? But they're still included in the pack, so there's more safety, right, than being on their own. Some people would rather be on their own than be at the bottom of the pack. Other people will be quite happy at the bottom of the pack because it's less responsibility, there's less effort involved, and so on, right? The other advantage is that knowing the difference in terms of behaviors and so on, if you're not challenging someone's authority, you can borrow it, right? This is what, for example, let's use the word captain, I guess, in a particular group, whether it's monkeys or dogs or human beings, there'll be a second and third in command, shall we say. Again, it can be totally unacknowledged consciously, but that person will draw the authority from that person, from the main leader, and not have to have the same pressures as that person. Does that kind of make sense? You see how that kind of works? How do we recognize it in an animal kingdom? What's going on in an animal kingdom that tells you this person is the authority, this one's like the bottom of the pack, and so on? What kind of traits would you see? A pecking order. So when something gets done, one person gets to go first, one person has to wait until the end, is usually the pleasant things, right? What else will you tend to sense? The way they behave. So specifically, what kind of things would you see? So we have posture and tone, right? Should we talk about the person who's like at the lowest end of the pecking order in a pack? Would he stand in the middle of the pack and shout out loud and make crazy movements? No. As a rule, space and volume will define what level someone's at, as a rule. Again, in human society, we've evolved certain other things as well. For example, if I'm sitting here, now I can talk to you very confidently right now, right? There's nothing that's really changed in the tone of my voice, has it? No? But what am I doing? What is my body language trying to do? It's trying to avoid using up space, right? Now, it might be just that I'm just cold, right? This is a position that people are trying to conserve heat as well. But the message that's going across is this person is not in his territory, or he's not confident, he feels somehow threatened, right? Versus if I'm a little bit more relaxed, right? Or, I mean, and this is, by the way, you'll see this happen a lot in the sort of more, in the more teenage circles, and that's because people are getting very, when people go through their teenage years, they become very, very sensitive to ideas of status, but they don't necessarily think about it. It's more kind of an instinctual thing. So you'll see a lot of teenagers do something like this. Have you seen that happen? Oh, yeah. Right? What is this? This is an overcompensation of status signals, isn't it? When they're not feeling it internally, they're trying to show to the world, oh, I'm kind of in charge of this whole thing. And they're overcompensating, right? So we need to be aware of all these things. Why? Because it lets us read a person, it lets us read a room very easily, and get a sense of what are the dynamics at play. Because if you don't know the dynamics, it's very difficult to join them or reshuffle them, right? If you don't know that someone is, let's say you're doing street hypnosis. It's a very simple concept, right? You're doing some stuff, you're doing inductions and whatever. A person walks up and says, do that with me. Right? Now, he might seem very friendly. Do you have the person in the right place? No, because he's basically saying, I am going to run this interaction. You can't do that as a hypnotist. You can't lead their attention somewhere unless they're following. Does that kind of make sense? Do you see why this is important to understand these things? But at the same time, let's say you have the same group and the person's saying like, you know, you want to do hypnosis and the person says, hypnosis is cool. Do you want to try it? Okay. Who do you hypnotize? The second person, right? Because you've just got authority from the group's leader, right? So I could come in understanding that. I can go, okay, hey, you know, the hypnosis is a cool thing. You really enjoy it. Let me show you something here. Do you see the change in my mannerisms? Right? Over here, I'm showing I'm not going to challenge authority. Why would I? All I need to do is get my work done, right? And as I move across, I'll change slightly. It's only a slight opening, but you notice how now the signals are going across. Now, am I going to be challenged over here? No. Because by challenging me, he's challenging the acknowledgement of this person, right? Do you see how that works? It's a relatively sophisticated idea, but I want, you know, I've seen the word of authority being bounded around a lot in the hypnosis circles, and it's used in a very primitive thing, which is basically point your finger and say sleep, right? I'm hamming it up a little bit. I hope, of course, you realize. The principle is very important. But I'd like you guys to start thinking about it in a slightly more three-dimensional way with more depth, because you don't have to be at the top of that pecking order in order to get the job you need to get done. Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah? So sometimes it's actually more useful to have lower status than a higher status. When might that be? Any ideas? Because you're not seen as threatening, right? Let's think about this in terms of sales, right? We have the chief honcho, the CEO, something like that. Are you going to threaten or vie that person for leadership? No, right? You're going to have to join that person, because otherwise, you know, you may win the argument and not get anywhere, right? Having said that, with certain individuals, they won't respect you unless you win the argument. So, do you see how it starts getting more complex? But the point is, now you can start looking for these things. You can start judging them. And if one approach hasn't quite worked out, you turn to the other approach and see how that one works out. And you have things to test. Which brings us, this is not directly a hypnotic principle, although it kind of is. This is very important. We started the day with this. It creates contrast. It's through contrast that you'll know what impact that you are having, right? If someone just shows you a photo of this is what's going, this is the reaction you got, it'll mean very little overall, right? I mean, you can make some educated guesses, but the thing that will tell you what it is the contrast, right? If someone's like this in a photo, is he in trance? If a second ago he was like this, and then he's like this, is it more likely that he's in trance, right? It's either that or he has narcolepsy, right? Exactly. So the contrast is going to be a real good friend to you, which means that from the moment you start an interaction, you need to be checking about what's the general thing. And it's not like you're looking at every little thing, right? Because your mind can't keep track of all those things. But you want to notice shifts, things that are occurring. And we'll work more on that as we go along. So, I'll do some exercises in a moment's time. I want you to be aware of how much agreement are you getting, how much compliance, and what are your relative status levels. And it doesn't matter what they are, just spot what they are, right? And incidentally, you can still be the authority without having to be the the top dog in the pack. You say, let me just show you some things, it's kind of cool, you'll really enjoy this. And then you slowly lead into a point where you are the authority, where they're following what you're doing, and the status signals will have switched. But you're doing it step by step, so it's in a non-threatening manner. Does that kind of make sense to you guys? Now, we will get a chance to practice all this, rest assured. So the concept of not being the alpha, but gradually assuming the authority, yes? It'll be built into the exercises. What I want right now, just as a simple idea, is can you get this as a concept, right? The concept is straightforward, yes? And then the second thing is, this is the thing I'm going to ask you to focus on for the rest of today. Before we do anything with it, I want you just to be aware of it. Because without awareness, it's very difficult to do something, because you haven't got a context to put it into, right? Without a context, basically context provides a contrast that tells you what's going on, right? You've heard me talk about hypnotic context a lot, if you've got any of my products or anything like that. Without a context, there is no hypnosis, because you do hypnosis differently in a hospital than in a bar room, than on the street, than with your friends, than in an airplane. Physically, they might look very similar, but there will be a slight shift that happen. Now, true masters of hypnosis will typically make the adjustments unconsciously. They'll notice, I'm not quite ready to do the induction yet, so that you'll hear them chat a little bit more, or talk about this stuff, or do this other thing. Why? Because their instincts are telling them the context isn't right yet. They've spotted certain things, but they're not aware of it. It's just experience has given them that path, that pattern. Make sense? I'd like you to start getting that pattern right now, because in conversational hypnosis, the biggest thing that goes wrong is people focus on the language, the words to say, and then they go blind or deaf, and they don't know what's going on. And it's really impossible to do anything with the language unless you have somewhere to put the language, right? It's like it's impossible to have a meal unless you have a person there or a mouth to put the meal in. It's impossible to store a book unless there's a box there to put it in. If it's just an empty space, well, what do I do with it? There's no container for it. Does that make sense? So we will come back to this. So if you haven't, if by day 3 we're not answering that question more increasingly fully, please feel free to ask again. All right? So are we all good with the authority strategy so far? It's just as a concept right now. And who here feels confident that they can spot at least some of these things going on in regular interactions? Right? Not like fully analyze exactly what's going on, just spot that something's going on and there's a relative shift going on and this change is happening. Yes? Okay. Now, in terms of the induction you just did a moment ago, I'd like you to just take these principles so far and mentally run yourself through the instant induction you did. Right? You saw agreement and compliance being present, did you not? And you saw it more importantly when it was absent, did you not? Right? Now, thinking about the authority, can you notice that some people who approach as hypnotists had more of this than others? Would that be fair to say? Right? If you can spot it in others, the next step is, can you spot it in yourself? Can you think back on some of the inductions you did? Perhaps with some people, you felt more comfortable for whatever reason. And then there's an answer for that, which we'll maybe come on to. And you had more of this than with others. Can anyone kind of think of that? When you were doing inductions, some people you felt more of the authority than with others. And through the contrast, of course, we get to get that